What's up guys, Xalt here, back again with another Magic Manastrike video. Today we're going to take a look at our current season's leaders and we're going to break down the deck that they're using. I am of course referring to S.N.U.G and Sahili, who are currently at the number 1 and number 3 spots respectively as of the making of this video. We'll take a look at their deck's compositions, the pros, the cons, talk about some of the basic strategies, and then we'll cap it off with some examples. So without further delay, let's jump right into it. S.N.U.G and Sahili are both using the same deck, with the exception of one card. So their Planeswalker of choice are the Twins. The active ability of this unique Planeswalker duo allows them to switch between one character to another. The first character you summon is Will, who has the ability to freeze opponents, and then you can switch to Rowan, who has an area of effect damage. You can swap between the characters as many number of times as you want, albeit there's a slight delay. But you can choose whichever one is most appropriate to the situation. If you're looking for some damage, then your bet would be on Rowan. But if CC or crowd control is what you're after, then Will would be your guy. I made a separate video about crowd control or CC, so if you're interested, check out the link that's in the description box. Now let's take a look at the components of the deck, starting with the cards that both players have in common. First, we have the Lightning Tower, which is a blue 4-mana building card that attacks both air and ground units. Next, we have a colorless 3-mana spell called Ratchet Bomb for added damage. Our third card is a colorless 3-mana creature called the Haunted Guardian, which is perfect for tanking. Next, we have a red 2-mana creature called the Fire Shrine Keeper, which is perfect for tanking and dealing damage at the same time. Followed by a blue 3-mana creature card called Ninja of the Deep Hours, which is perfect for cutting down the health of any building or any tower. And finally, to allow for some faster cycling, you have a colorless 1-mana creature card called Hedron Scouts. Alright, now this is where the players diverge in their strategies, with S.N.U.G choosing a defensive card and Sahili going for a more offensive card. S.N.U.G's choice is a blue 2-mana spell card called Hysterical Blindness, which is perfect for crowd control, while Sahili opted for a red 3-mana creature card called Goblin Artillery. Alright, now let's talk about the strengths of the deck. Number 1, the deck provides a great balance of offense and defense. You can easily tweak the deck to your liking by choosing between the Goblin Artillery or the Hysterical Blindness, or a different card altogether, such as the Sphinx of the Final Word. Number 2, the deck allows for some fast cycling. Choosing the Goblin Artillery will net you an average mana of 2.7, and 2.6 if you choose to go with the Hysterical Blindness. This means that you don't have to wait for too long to get the card that you need, regardless if it's for offense or defense. And number 3, the deck is flexible enough to allow you to either go first or bid for your time and then respond to whatever your opponent places on the field. Alright, now let's talk about the shortcomings of the deck. Number 1, you have a very squishy Planeswalker. And because the Planeswalker is integral to winning games, you really have to protect it by putting something in front of it. Number 2, there are no flying units in either versions of the deck. If you need to fight against other creatures, you'll always have to go toe-to-toe against these creatures. For example, there is no safe way to delete a Wave Crash Triton other than by placing another creature in front of it. Keep these things in mind if ever you decide to use this deck or if you're playing against it. Alright, now for some strategies. There are a lot of possible combos you can execute using the deck, but here are a few defensive and offensive strategies you can try. Let's start with defense. You will almost always want to place your Planeswalker at the back and then protect it in front with a Fire Shrine Keeper or a Haunted Guardian, regardless if you're defending against ground or air. You can also try using the Lightning Tower, but its HP is relatively lower compared to other towers, so I wouldn't really recommend using it to shield your Planeswalker. Reserve it for creatures that only attack buildings, such as the Ninja of the Deep Hours or the Hell Rider. Now here's my suggested arrangement. Choose between the Fire Shrine Keeper or the Haunted Guardian. You don't necessarily have to place both. Watch out when you're defending against blue, because they can trick you to putting all of your defenses on one lane and then they'll transfer all of their creatures onto the other lane using Retraction Helix. While the Haunted Guardian and the Fire Shrine Keeper can handle their own, they're not particularly offensive creatures. This means that if it turns out to be a race between which group can destroy which tower first, you're probably at a disadvantage. Notice that I placed the Planeswalker in a separate area from that of the Lightning Tower. That way, if either of them gets targeted by a spell such as the Star of Extinction or Circle of Pain, they do not get deleted simultaneously. If you are defending against a group of creatures, my suggestion is that you switch to Rowan. But if you're going one-on-one against a single planeswalker or one big creature such as a Shivan dragon, then my suggestion is that you keep using Will. Remember that your creatures are relatively inexpensive, which means that from 1v1, you can easily go for 2v1 or maybe even more. Here's a quick tip. If you find your planeswalker receiving damage, say from a creature or a building, place a creature such as a Fire Shrine Keeper or a Haunted Guardian within the reach of that attacking source, and then switch out from either Rowan or Will, whichever, right? And the new target will become the creature that you've just placed. This will prolong the longevity of your planeswalker, which we know is essential in making a push. Okay, time for some offensive strategies. What I'm going to show you are just some of the strategies that you can employ offensively, but this is not by any means an exhaustive list. Remember that you can engage first or play it defensively. If you choose to play it defensively and you were successful, you can roll with whatever remaining creatures you have left. Remember not to overcommit and start counting your mana. Now this is what I suggest your offensive formation should look like. Now you don't necessarily have to put everything in one lane. If you want to, you can perform a split push. What I'm going to show you is more of a framework rather than a hard and fast rule, so I suggest you keep on practicing if ever you want to execute it. You have a tank that will absorb damage. That can either be the Fire Shrine Keeper or the Haunted Guardian. Try switching to Rowan so that you can produce more damage. If you started from a defensive position and you follow the recommendation I gave earlier, then your planeswalker should have been in the innermost lane, and this is particularly useful so that they do not become targets should the defending player decide to put something right over at this spot. Place the Ninja of the Deep Hours when Rowan is already near the tower and not from a mile away so that it does not get countered. If you choose to go with a Goblin Artillery, then place it in the innermost lane as well so that it does not become vulnerable to other attacks. To make sure that the Goblin Artillery does not get countered right away, you may want to put another Haunted Guardian or a Fire Shrine Keeper beside it. If this is going to be the winning push, you may want to consider placing the Lightning Tower near the Goblin for added protection. If it's not, I think it's an overkill trying to put all of your creatures in one go, and that might leave your other lane vulnerable, so just be mindful of that. Now, if you have Hysterical Blindness instead of the Goblin Artillery, you can use that to protect your creatures who are either defending or advancing for the push. And those are the basic offensive and defensive strategies of Aziz and Saheeli's blue-red deck. We're going to end today's video by showing you how I use their decks. Now, I don't necessarily play like them. I don't think that I'm at their level anyways. What I'm hoping to provide you instead is a demonstration of those offensive and defensive strategies. If you made it this far in the video, I'd like to thank you for watching. If you liked this content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and help the channel grow by subscribing as well. Stay safe and healthy, stop touching your face, wash your hands always, and as usual, I will see you in the next one. This is Exalt signing off. Peace.
So the fight begins. Rowan, you kept me waiting, Will. Someone, please stop before I destroy you all. My fault. And so the fight begins. You kept me waiting, Will. Oh, my fault. My fault.
Someone, please stop me!
And so the fight begins.
Before I destroy you all!
And so the fight begins. You kept me waiting, Will. And so the fight begins. You kept me waiting, Will.
I don't think power obeys the
So the fight begins.
I don't think you're ready.
And so the fight begins. Rowan, you kept me waiting, Will.
One is time.
Will. And so the fight begins. Rowan, you kept me waiting, Will. It's all my fault. And so the fight begins.
I don't think you're